Daniel stared at the message glowing on his phone, a single cold line ending the years he thought were unbreakable. The silence that followed pressed on his chest, as if the room itself refused to let him breathe anymore. He replayed every moment with Monica, trying to find the crack he had missed, the sign he should have seen sooner. Then the truth surfaced like poison, her affair with Trevor spilling into his world with a sting he could not ignore. The betrayal reshaped the air around him, turning familiar memories into sharp edges he no longer wished to touch. Anger rose slowly, not wild but deliberate, settling into him with a clarity that felt strangely steady and cold. When he opened her latest public post, he felt the line snap inside him, the moment his restraint finally and completely dissolved. Daniel opened Monica's public post again, the one where she painted herself as a martyr of vague, toxic energies. He felt a dull pulse behind his eyes, a tired recognition that the truth had finally twisted too far to ignore. He typed a simple "congratulations," the word sharp in its politeness, and tagged her boss, her family, and her pastor. A small click ended the moment, yet the ripple began instantly, moving outward with a quiet and decisive force. Within minutes, notifications stacked like falling bricks, each one carrying the weight of eyes landing on her curated chaos. He knew her profile still held the photos she meant to hide, the ones Trevor had encouraged and she forgot to delete. Those images appeared beneath the post like landmines, exploding in slow motion as each tagged person opened the page. Catherine saw them first, her comment emerging as a stunned question that grew colder as she scrolled further down. Another notification arrived, this time from Monica's mother, whose shock appeared through a single trembling punctuation mark. Daniel leaned back and watched the reactions unfold, not with satisfaction, but with the stillness of someone done with excuses. Coworkers began resharing the post, their disbelief stretching into long threads that questioned her professionalism outright. Screenshots multiplied, spreading through chats at her office until the situation no longer belonged to her control. Her boss, Janet, wrote a formal request for clarification, the kind that sounded polite but hid a blade behind every letter. Daniel knew this would force a conversation Monica had avoided, one she always smoothed over with charm and practiced sorrow. The pastor saw it next, his brief message asking if the account had been hacked before he realized it had not been. A quiet tension settled over the digital space as people waited for Monica to respond, but her silence grew heavier. Daniel imagined her seeing the tags, the images, the comments forming in real time, her world tightening like a closing fist. He didn't feel triumph, only a steady truth pressing through him, reminding him that he owed her nothing anymore. As more relatives chimed in, the tone shifted from confusion to confrontation, each message peeling away another layer of her facade. Monica's cousin added a link to an older post, connecting patterns she had once dismissed as harmless exaggerations. The momentum built until strangers began engaging, their curiosity turning her curated image into something brittle and exposed. Daniel watched the spread from a distance, his expression calm, his breathing even, as though he were observing weather change. He knew the storm wasn't his creation, but the natural result of her contradictions collapsing under their own weight. The comments grew longer, harsher, angrier, demanding explanations she could no longer bend into convenient narratives. A final notification appeared, a private message from Janet requesting Monica attend a disciplinary meeting the next morning. Daniel closed his screen, letting the hum of the room return, the chaos now drifting forward without his hands guiding it. Catherine called early, her voice sharp as glass, demanding Monica explain the mess now spilling across every screen. She spoke in clipped bursts, each sentence colder than the last, refusing to let Monica twist the story into soft excuses. Monica tried to defend herself, but her words folded under Catherine's anger, collapsing before they could take shape. The argument spilled onto social media minutes later, their comments stacking in a public thread neither could stop. Relatives joined in hesitantly, then boldly, each adding memories that fractured Monica's claim of innocent suffering. While the family argued, Monica's phone buzzed with a call from her mother, whose trembling breath gave everything away. Her mother asked quiet questions at first, hoping the truth might bend toward something gentler than betrayal. But the details emerged in pieces, and each one pushed her mother further into a silence that carried disappointment, not shock. When the call ended, Monica stared at her reflection, searching for a version of herself that hadn't been exposed. The next blow came from work, where Janet gathered the team for an abrupt meeting that cracked with tension. Colleagues whispered as they filed in, their glances avoiding Monica's empty chair with a mix of pity and disdain. Janet projected the screenshots on the screen, her tone measured, her disappointment wrapped in corporate precision. She spoke of professionalism, ethics, and boundaries, each word falling like a stone onto the fragile ground beneath Monica's job. The photos appeared one by one, stripped of context, heavy with implication, impossible to explain without deeper confession. A collective inhale moved across the room. The sound of people realizing this story stretched far beyond a messy breakup. Janet announced a disciplinary review, formal and immediate, leaving no room for Monica to charm her way around consequence. Colleagues avoided eye contact afterward, choosing silence over support, unwilling to align themselves with her unraveling image. By midday, the story reached the church, where parents of the children Monica taught forwarded the screenshots with concern. The pastor scheduled an urgent meeting, citing community standards and the importance of moral consistency in leadership. He wrote carefully, hoping to offer grace, yet unable to ignore the patterns now visible to everyone watching. Monica felt the pressure closing in, each institution of her life responding with rules she had long assumed she could bend. Her phone vibrated nonstop, each buzz carrying another question, another confrontation, another reminder of shrinking safety. Catherine sent a final message, stating plainly that she was done covering for behavior that had gone too far to excuse. At work, Janet followed up with a written notice, the kind that hinted termination without stating it outright. Rumors spread among colleagues in hushed tones, circling around the office like unwelcome drafts of winter air. Parents at church whispered too, wondering whether someone so entangled in scandal should teach their children at all. The pastor responded with firmness, reminding Monica that accountability was not persecution, no matter how it felt. By evening, Monica stood alone in her apartment, surrounded by the echo of voices demanding truth she could not reshape. The chaos had grown larger than the post, larger than Daniel, larger than anything she could influence or contain. It moved without her now, fueled by every contradiction she had tucked away, rising like a storm she never prepared to face. Monica showed up at Daniel's apartment unannounced, her eyes sharp, her voice trembling with forced authority. She accused him of ruining her life, claiming every backlash, every consequence was his fault alone. Her words tumbled quickly, desperate and precise, demanding that he fix what she had broken with her own choices. Daniel listened quietly, his hands folded, the calm in him a stark contrast to her storm of accusations. She demanded he restore her reputation, threatening legal action if he did not comply with her version of justice. Trevor called shortly after, his voice carrying a mixture of anger and fear, pushing Daniel to take responsibility too. Even Monica's mother phoned again, trying to persuade Daniel to negotiate, pleading that he consider her daughter's feelings. Daniel remained firm, his voice steady, insisting that he bore no blame for the truth she had tried to hide. He reminded them of the evidence, of the messages, photos, and actions that made the story painfully clear. Monica's threats became louder, more frantic, but each one only reinforced Daniel's resolve not to bow. He repeated that responsibility could not be shifted like a debt, and that her choices were hers alone to face. Trevor grew impatient, attempting guilt and pressure, claiming that Daniel owed them both a narrative he had not created. Daniel countered with facts, metadata, screenshots, and clear accounts, each point cutting through their tangled claims. He refused to negotiate with emotion or intimidation, insisting that accountability was not a favor he could grant. Monica's composure cracked, her hands shaking as she realized her manipulation had no leverage left. Her voice wavered between anger and despair, a thin thread of authority stretching and snapping with each refusal. Daniel's calmness acted as a mirror, showing her the reflection of her own decisions and the consequences they brought. Her mother tried reasoning, reminding Daniel of mercy and compassion, but he kept the boundary firm and unyielding. Even Trevor's attempts to shame him backfired, as Daniel presented undeniable evidence of Monica's actions. The room felt tense, each word a struggle of truth against deflection, fact against accusation, calm against hysteria. Monica's threats dwindled, replaced by pleading that Daniel somehow repair what she had shattered herself. He made it clear that repair was possible only through her own acknowledgement, not through his intervention. Hours passed with repeated arguments, but the result was the same. Daniel would not be complicit in covering her mistakes. She left finally, slamming the door behind her, leaving silence heavy with the weight of responsibility she refused to accept. Daniel exhaled, the storm outside now echoing the stillness of a man who had seen the truth and held his ground. Her attempts to manipulate, intimidate, and threaten had all failed, leaving only the stark reality of her own choices. The confrontation closed a chapter, not with reconciliation, but with clarity and a sharp lesson in personal accountability. He sat back, letting the moment settle, knowing the path forward would not be dictated by her actions or anger. Daniel understood fully. He could protect himself, but he could not save anyone from the consequences of their own decisions. Monica created a GoFundMe, claiming she was a victim of toxic abuse and needed $30,000. She posted with dramatic language, promising recovery, support, and a return to peace, all framed as urgent. Relatives, friends, and even Trevor's wife discovered the page and responded with disbelief and outrage. The campaign spread briefly, but was quickly challenged, screenshots proving her narrative did not match reality. Comments flooded in, dissecting inconsistencies and calling out her attempts to profit from her own misdeeds. Daniel remained silent, watching the fallout, knowing that truth alone was dismantling the story she tried to sell. She turned to live streaming, tears streaming down her face, speaking of male toxicity and betrayal that never existed. Her audience dwindled as viewers recognized the pattern of exaggeration and manipulation in her words. Trevor vanished from the city, cutting off all contact, leaving Monica to face the social storm entirely alone. Her colleagues and former friends began blocking her, unfollowing her accounts, erasing any trace of connection. Even online communities she led, once loyal, distanced themselves, refusing to defend someone under clear scrutiny. The media she tried to court ignored her, sensing the narrative was unstable and likely to backfire further. The GoFundMe was taken down after overwhelming backlash, the donations never materializing, leaving her exposed. Monica's live streams became frantic, her sobs growing louder, her pleas for understanding increasingly desperate. Viewers posted clips and screenshots mocking her, turning the intended sympathy into ridicule and viral memes. Family messages came in, cutting financial support, offering tough love instead of the rescue she demanded. Daniel's name was invoked less, as the story's focus shifted to her own self-inflicted collapse and contradictions. Every attempt she made to reclaim control only fueled the narrative against her, amplifying the social consequences. Her online presence, once vibrant and commanding, became a record of mistakes, humiliation, and public rebuke. Trevor's disappearance left her without an ally, reinforcing that her choices alone had created the chaos. The church, colleagues, and friends all quietly agreed. Her influence was toxic, her behavior untenable. She tried apology posts, vague confessions, even blaming stress, but each message rang hollow under scrutiny. The public attention turned critical, focusing on deception, inconsistency, and the spectacle she had produced. Daniel observed silently, unmoved, his own life untouched, his peace intact despite her attempts at damage. The attempts to monetize sympathy failed, leaving her isolated, exposed, and responsible only to herself. Every online platform rejected her attempts at reclamation, deleting content, and warning her against further misuse. Her social world collapsed piece by piece, her friends gone, her colleagues skeptical, and her reputation destroyed. Monica faced the stark reality. Every action she had taken fueled the downfall she now experienced. By the end of the week, she was alone. Without money, support, or credibility, her online persona shattered completely. Daniel, meanwhile, moved on quietly, untouched by her chaos, proving that truth and restraint often outlast manipulation. Monica turned to TikTok, posting videos that twisted her story and blamed Daniel for her downfall. She edited clips carelessly, trying to craft a narrative that painted herself as a victim of his cruelty. Daniel noticed the inconsistencies immediately, the metadata revealing timestamps and original files she had altered. He contacted Catherine, sending everything with clear proof that Monica's claims were fabricated and misleading. Catherine reviewed the files, her anger sharp but precise, understanding the power of exposing the full truth. She created a video compiling all evidence, showing the unaltered originals and contrasting them with Monica's edits. The video was concise, factual, and devastating, leaving no room for Monica's manipulations to stand. She uploaded it to TikTok and other social platforms, making sure the reach was broad and verifiable. The response was immediate. Viewers began comparing Monica's clips with Catherine's evidence in real time. Comments flooded in, calling out Monica's dishonesty, her attempts at deception, and her public manipulation. Her credibility collapsed further, as online communities she once influenced turned against her almost instantly. The Healing Circle group expelled her, citing breach of trust and repeated misleading behavior. Even casual followers, who had previously sympathized now, mocked the disparity between her claims and reality. Monica tried to defend herself with frantic replies, but each comment only drew more attention to the inconsistencies. She went to Daniel's workplace, hoping for confrontation, but was escorted out by security, further humiliating her. Trevor remained absent, offering no support, and the absence underscored her isolation in the unfolding scandal. Daniel stayed composed, refusing to engage directly, letting evidence and truth act as the ultimate rebuttal. Her attempts at public sympathy were crushed by the viral spread of Catherine's video, which dominated feeds and searches. Family members and friends shared the video widely, ensuring that no version of Monica's lie remained unchallenged. Her TikTok account began losing followers by the thousands, her influence diminishing in real time. The live streams she attempted afterward were met with ridicule, viewers pointing out her previous lies and edits. Even forums once dedicated to supporting her causes discussed her manipulation, turning advocacy into criticism. The sheer speed and scale of the exposure left her disoriented, unsure how to respond to the mounting evidence. Monica tried contacting allies privately, but they refused to engage, unwilling to defend someone so publicly exposed. Her reputation in every sphere, social, professional, and personal, was deteriorating rapidly, with little hope of recovery. Daniel, Catherine, and concerned parties let the evidence speak for itself, never exaggerating, never retaliating. Each new post, Monica, made only highlighted her desperation and inability to control the narrative she created. By the end of the week, she was effectively isolated online, stripped of her community, and publicly discredited. The viral video solidified the truth, showing clearly that Daniel had not orchestrated her downfall in any way. Monica faced the stark reality. Her attempts to manipulate, deceive, and reclaim sympathy had only accelerated her collapse. Daniel moved forward quietly, his life untouched, proof that honesty and restraint often outlast hysteria and lies. Monica organized a healing ceremony in the city park, inviting strangers and live-streaming every moment. She carried photos of Daniel, setting them on a makeshift altar, her voice shaking as she spoke of betrayal. The live-stream attracted viewers quickly, many confused, others mocking the spectacle as it unfolded in real time. She lit candles and attempted rituals, gesturing dramatically, her words echoing through the empty spaces around her. Daniel's name became a focus, the act intended to symbolically purge the anger and pain she blamed on him. Police arrived soon after, led by Daniel's cousin, concerned about fire hazards and the lack of permits for public assembly. Monica argued, insisting she had a right to heal and share her emotions, ignoring the safety warnings given. The officers tried to reason, explaining that the event could not continue without proper authorization or control. Her frustration grew, tears turning to shouts, drawing attention from passers-by who filmed the chaos on their phones. As she reached for another photo to burn, she slipped on wet grass, tumbling into the park fountain with a splash. The live stream captured the fall, instantly becoming a viral meme as viewers shared clips with captions mocking the incident. Friends and family arrived shortly after, their presence a mix of concern and intervention to prevent further harm. Paramedics checked her over, ensuring no serious injuries, while she sat dripping, humiliated, and overwhelmed. Her parents decided immediate action was necessary, insisting on a 30-day treatment program for emotional and mental support. During the program, she reflected privately, though she continued sending letters expressing a desire to reconcile with Daniel. Daniel received the letters but remained firm, choosing peace and distance over engagement with her attempts at contact. The days passed. Monica's presence in social media diminished entirely, her accounts restricted or suspended. She returned home to live with her parents, facing strict boundaries and no financial support, a stark contrast to her previous independence. Her reputation remained damaged, a reminder of public scrutiny and the consequences of unchecked impulsive behavior. Even casual encounters were difficult, as community members avoided interactions, wary of further drama or spectacle. She attempted private apologies to friends and family, but trust had been eroded by repeated episodes of public chaos. Daniel continued his life quietly, dating Amy, enjoying stability, and maintaining relationships without intrusion from past events. When Monica happened to see him in a supermarket, her mother intervened immediately, preventing any confrontation. The encounter confirmed the divide, a clear boundary enforced by family and choice, leaving no space for reconciliation. Daniel understood fully that he had not destroyed her life. Her downfall was self-inflicted, shaped by her own decisions. The treatment program helped her begin to rebuild internally, though the external consequences remained firmly in place. Social media restrictions, job loss, and damaged relationships served as constant reminders of the choices she had made. She faced the reality that recovery required accountability, patience, and acceptance, not public spectacle or blame. Daniel moved on, free from past conflicts, illustrating that calm truth and self-respect often outlast drama and chaos. The story closed with a lesson clear to all. Reckless actions carry consequences, and responsibility cannot be escaped. Monica's journey became one of reflection, restraint, and slow rebuilding, while Daniel's life carried forward peacefully. Daniel walked through his day with a quiet ease, free from the chaos that once consumed him. He met Amy for coffee, her laughter easy, her presence a calm contrast to past storms. Work continued smoothly, relationships strengthened, and the past drama felt distant, almost unreal. Monica remained under restrictions, living with her parents, cut off from social platforms and old networks. Her financial independence was gone, her reputation tarnished, and her attempts at reconciliation ignored. Occasionally, she sent letters, carefully worded, but Daniel never responded, preserving his peace and boundaries. When they crossed paths at the supermarket, her mother intervened, preventing any direct contact or confrontation. Daniel recognized the moment for what it was, her responsibility, not his, and he did not falter or engage. Amy walked beside him, their conversation light, a reminder that life moved forward despite past turbulence. Daniel understood fully now that he had not ruined Monica's life. Her choices had done that for her. He smiled faintly, knowing the truth was simple. Honesty, restraint, and self-respect outlast chaos and manipulation. The lesson lingered in his mind, clear and unshakable. Reckless actions carry consequences, and boundaries must be kept. Life continued peacefully, ordinary yet fulfilling, as Daniel embraced calm, connection, and the quiet joy of moving on.